Here are 3 true scary stories from Reddit. The links to the stories are in the description below. Enjoy. Number 1. This story took place in the late summer of 2006. I was an 18-year-old freshman that just started college. I attended a tiny college at the opposite end of the state I was living in. I stayed on the ground floor of an old dorm. I have some stories that are sort of creepy, but this one takes the cake. And at the time it didn't really hit me as how creepy it was. You know the old saying, hindsight is 20/20. I was young, naive, and full of, well, you know. I was in the best shape of my life. I was 6'2", 180 pounds, handsome, etc. Now I'm 10 years older and 100 pounds overweight. In my dorm, there was a communal bathroom for all 20 guys to share. 2 stalls, 2 urinals, and 2 showers. That was it. One of the showers had a vent that was about 7 feet up from the floor, but on the outside of the building, it was at ground level. Well, one hot summer day, I was taking a shower and just talking and joking with another guy in the next shower over. All of a sudden, I hear another voice join in the conversation, and it begins talking to me. My first thought is, okay, someone has come into the bathroom and wants to use the shower. But that thought quickly left my head as I realized that the shower vent was open and the dorm's janitor / maintenance man was staring at me from the outside. He was a man in his 50s, had a thick Appalachian accent, and looked like the actor Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother. Clint played the role of the ugly redneck guy in a lot of Adam Sandler movies from the 90s. He somehow knew my name. I don't remember telling it to him, but I had said hello to him a few times. He was trying to engage me in small talk. It was very weird. I was creeped out by the fact that the man was eyeing me and trying to have a conversation while I was naked in the shower. But for some reason at the time, it didn't really register that what he was doing was super creepy and illegal. I just thought he was being weird, and I politely asked him to close the vent. The guy in the shower next to me then quipped that the janitor did that all the time. It apparently was a common occurrence, and the guy thought it was weird and creepy too, but harmless. My floor was mostly made up of freshman football players, and so the janitor liked to talk to these guys about the team and football. Through the air vent, while watching them shower naked. I shuddered at the thought. I would occasionally come across the janitor from time to time, but thankfully, I never experienced him spying on me again. I never told the resident life or college administration about the janitor doing those creepy things. I hoped that maybe someone else had spoken up about him and got him fired. But who knows? So creepy janitor from my freshman year of college, I doubt I will ever see you again, but in case I'm back in that area, let's not meet. Number 2. In the spring of '97, I was around 10 years old and living with my mother and younger sister in an apartment complex. Our mother managed a different complex than ours and would pick us up from school, then drop us off at our apartment. She would leave us alone, then head back to work for a couple more hours. At the time, tensions were high around our complex. In 1 month, we had a man commit suicide, a partial fire break out in a building, and a child that had been hit by a car, who thankfully survived. Even at the young age of 10, I remember distinctly having a strong grasp on the bizarre events that were taking place. I have 3 older siblings that at some point in their youth had to keep an eye on each other at a young age, so watching over each other's backs wasn't anything new. There was no money for a sitter, so the oldest just had to assume the role of caretaker. And during the events of this story, it was me. The 3 older siblings had already moved out. For the most part, we were really quiet kids in our 2nd and 3rd story unit. We played with our toys, watched a little television, and sometimes played the Sega and Nintendo game consoles. On this particular afternoon, my younger sister and I were playing around in the living room. I was playing with the Dash Rendar toy figure from Star Wars, while my sister was doing her own thing. Suddenly, the doorknob started jiggling violently. My heart sank, and I remember it being the very first time I had felt such terror. I rushed to the phone and called my mom's pager with the message 911. I then dialed 911 and let them know that someone was breaking into our place. The operator reassured me that help was on the way. The door handle was still shaking and being messed with. I was nervous that if the doorknob got unlocked, the deadbolt and chain that also secured the door wouldn't be enough to stop whoever from coming in. Then came the terrifying sound of a couple loud bangs, as if someone ramming the door with their shoulder. Then it all just stopped. The cops arrived shortly before my mother, only to find a note on the door from the maintenance man. It read something like, "Stop by for the air filter inspection." Now, the maintenance man claimed that he announced himself verbally, but I knew that was bullshit. Of course, the cops did nothing, and my mom's complaint to the main office was probably filed or thrown away. Suffice to say, the man wasn't fired. Then over the course of several weeks, our mom said the guy would stare her down in the parking lot and just smile at her. The whole situation freaked us out, and we wanted to move, but we couldn't afford to. And unfortunately, even those encounters with the man weren't the most unnerving part of the story. That came a couple of weeks later. On that night, I was awakened by a loud thud coming from the roof, and being so easily rattled from the previous events, I ran into my mom's room and woke her up. She checked around to make sure everything was in place and locked, and reassured me that it was probably a mouse. We went to school the next day, and afterwards were dropped off at home as usual. Mom did her usual quick sweep of the place that she was doing even before the attempted break-in, before heading back to work. But this time, something seemed off. It was just a very uneasy feeling that the apartment had when walking in. My mother gathered my sister and I and told us to go back downstairs and wait at the front main door of the apartment complex while she looked around. We waited patiently and then became unnerved when suddenly our mother screaming confirmed all our suspicions. She came barreling down the stairs and ushered us out the door. We went across the way to a neighbor's and phoned the police. My mother was yelling at them that someone was in our apartment. The police responded rather quickly, and I was finally able to understand the situation. The bedroom had a walk-in closet that contained the hatch to the attic that connected the entire building's AC and heating. There were shelves in the closet that went from floor to ceiling. My mother had walked in to find a dirty pair of men's underwear laying on the closet floor. This was enough to send her running and then phoning the police. However, the investigation revealed something more. The attic hatch had been disturbed. The police found full handprints on the shelves in the closet. The noises I heard the previous night were more than likely the man hoisting himself back up into the attic crawl space, using the shelves to climb up after visiting us. The man was eventually taken into custody, but I can't recall what his sentence was. I'm gonna look into it. Coincidentally, my older brother is now a homicide detective for that area. We ended up moving out of the apartment and into my grandmother's house shortly after. And I have never been back. Number 3. This story took place when I was a sophomore in high school. It was during lunch period and I had just finished eating my lunch in the school cafeteria. There's a lobby outside of the cafeteria, and as I walked through it, heading back to my class, I noticed this older janitor standing off to the side staring at me. He then called out to me saying, "Hey girl, come here," or something along those lines. Now, being a good kid, I was raised to listen to and respect adults. So when he got my attention, I walked up to him to see what he wanted. "Yes?" I asked. He responded by mumbling something about money falling out of my pockets, then proceeded to thrust his hand down my pants pockets. Realizing what he was doing, I shoved him and turned around to walk away. He kept rambling on about my jeans, and honestly, I was extremely freaked out. Fast forward to a couple days later, and I was caught in an empty hallway with this guy. I continued walking as he got right up behind me and kept saying, "What's up?" and "Hey girl," over and over again. I totally ignored him and sat outside of the teacher's lounge. He was visibly annoyed at this inside. He then shook his head and said, "Girls these days." I've since graduated from high school, but he has never left my thoughts. And no, I didn't end up reporting him because I felt the school administration would laugh it off and not fire him because he has worked there for so long. This is nowhere near any of the truly scary things that have happened to me in life, but this weird man at my school creeped me out, and I have never forgotten about him. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.